Lisa Bennett here, Workforce Millionaire. You are at the Loving Nonprofit Awareness Day, and I have the opportunity to interview Melanie Sobel. Melanie Sobel is the general manager of the Santa Cruz County Animal Shelter, where I have been a volunteer, whether you know that or not. The Santa Cruz Animal Shelter provides 24-hour animal rescue and is our only full service. What was the term? It didn't print. The
full service open admission.
That's it. Open admission shelter. That's right. We have people where you can find and recover lost pets and adopt new animal companions, which I've also done there. These shelters are tangible evidence of Santa Cruz County's commitment to animal welfare. They're supported by numerous volunteers and foster care families who provide thousands of hours of assistance to the animal shelter staff. We rescue and assure temporary shelter, veterinary and humane care for approximately 5,000 stray, unwanted, abandoned, mistreated, neglected, and injured animals every year. Thank you for being here, Melanie.
Thank you for having me.
So I have been in this county, I think 8 years, and for a couple of those years, I volunteered at your shelter, and I've also adopted, trying to remember, at least one kitty cat from there. So tell me how you ended up working for the Santa Cruz County Animal Shelter.
Well, I've been here 11 years. It'll be 11 years last December. And prior to that, I was the director of Milwaukee County Animal Control. And before that, did a small stint in Texas, and then I worked at Chicago Animal Care Control for about 5.5 years. So I've been involved in animal welfare professionally for over 20 years. I've been a volunteer since I was 12.
Wow.
But professionally over 20 years. And I actually came out here for the job. I didn't know, I'd never been here.
That's great.
Yeah, they did a national search, and I thought Santa Cruz sounded like a place to be, and I came out and interviewed, and I got the job. So I love this community. Very happy to be here.
So you've been in the job 11 years, and you were recruited, so you were brought to Santa Cruz County to do what you do right now?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And so you built a brand new community of friends and relationships and any activities that you participate in. You started from scratch 11 years ago, right?
Yeah, didn't know a soul. But the great thing about working as an animal shelter is, we have so many volunteers, and I was surrounded by just so much support and kind people and caring people that had, similar interests of me, of animal welfare. And so I was able to make a lot of friends and connections here.
Nice. So how have you seen the shelter change since you've been involved in it?
Well, one thing that is near and dear to my heart is to inform the community, educate people about what open admission sheltering means. Because everybody knows what no-kill means. Everybody knows what a no-kill shelter, or they think they know what a no-kill shelter is. But it's very vague and not specific, that terminology, no-kill versus open admission or limited admission. And there's a lot of confusion. And unfortunately, that language can be used to be divisive in our industry, and it can create good guys and bad guys, meaning we don't kill animals, but the other place kills animals. So something that was really important to me, and we've worked very, very hard to do, was first establish ourselves as the only full service open admission shelter in the county. There's a lot of confusion between us and other animal welfare organizations, such as the Santa Cruz SPCA. So I wanted to highlight what the programs and services that we provide for the community that no other organization does. And that we're government, and we're basically the safety net for animals in our community. We never refuse an animal that comes to our door. We have an open door policy. If an animal shows up, we will take it in. We will not put you on a waiting list. We won't charge a fee. We will help you and take that animal in. And that's been my big goal, is to make people understand what animal euthanasia entails, the complexity of it, the necessity of it, and that there's not good guys and bad guys in this. We're here to serve and do the hardest, neediest. We serve the neediest animals in the community. So for instance, another organization could just not take an animal in, say a dog bit a child in the face, and the family doesn't want the dog anymore. They're afraid of the dog. We go out, we get the dog, we bring the dog in. That dog can not be adopted again because we're not going to assume that liability. We're not going to put another child in danger.
Right.
So that's the type of situation where an animal would be euthanized. Whereas another organization just wouldn't take that animal in, they wouldn't have that euthanasia stat. We do, because we take every animal in. So that's been one of my main goals, is to really explain what no-kill means, what open admission means, what animal shelters, how they, government animal shelters or open admission shelters serve as a social welfare agency in a community, just like the fire department or the police department or social workers for kids. It's the same type of idea.
So before you arrived, that wasn't the policy?
It was, but it wasn't something that was explained very clearly. And it also, when I came, there weren't a lot of programs and services to help the community, such as so Santa Cruz County has a spay neuter mandate that they passed in 1994. I think it was the first in the state of California. The problem is there wasn't an affordable, easy way for people to get their dogs and cats spay neutered. So there was no compliance. And it's very hard to enforce.
Sounds like the marijuana industry too.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. But it's hard to enforce that law when there wasn't an easy way for people to comply.
Right.
And of course, we're not going to take people's animals away from them just because they're not spay neutered. But so in 2011, we started our Planned Parenthood program, which was our low-cost spay neuter program for any county resident that lives in the county could take an opportunity to use the service to have low cost or free spay neuter. And we still have that program today. We have suspended it the last 6 months due to our veterinarian retiring, and we're having a hard time getting a veterinarian that's proficient in spay neuter. But we're working on that aggressively to try to get that up and running again. So that's one example. We have our Healthy Pets for All clinics, where we go out into the community and provide free veterinary services and dog food and cat food and collars and leashes and flea medication and enrichment toys and things to enable people to retain their animals in their home rather than having to give them up to a shelter, or just improve their quality of life out in the community. So I think it's important. A lot of shelters focus so much on statistics of what happens in the shelter, but you also have to consider all the animals out in the community that might never come in contact with an animal shelter. And we like to branch out and physically go into those communities and try to help those animals for people that maybe wouldn't seek help or know to seek help from us. Our officers we have a door-to-door program with our animal control officers. When time allows and they have downtime, they go into the neediest areas of the county, again, with food, resources, supplies, not punitive measures. If an animal's not vaccinated or licensed, we don't issue a citation. We give them the vaccination. If the animal's not being cared for properly, doesn't have the right resources, we'll provide that for people. So that's something that we're very proud of. We have a community-based outreach program, and oftentimes waive fees for people that just can't afford to care for their animal properly.
I've seen quite a few of the homeless people in Santa Cruz County that have dogs. Do they fall under your care occasionally, or they notice that they have a dog with them and they they ask if they need any help with their animals?
Yes, pretty much routinely. We go into the homeless encampments and provide resources for the people and their animals to make the animals more comfortable. A lot of times those animals are happier than, living in a house where they're alone 10 hours a day.
Yeah, they
in
get
a
lots
crate.
of attention, right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they get lots of attention. They're with their person 24/7,
Yeah.
which is all they want. A lot of times the homeless will feed their dog before they feed themselves. It's their only companion, their only friend.
Yeah.
So the last thing we want to do is take that animal away and break that bond between the two. It's not good for the dog necessarily, and it's certainly not good for the person. So we try to give that scenario whatever they need to keep that animal and keep that bond going.
And your open admissions policy, you're talking about domesticated animals, right? What happens when someone has, I don't know, a squirrel or a deer that's been injured, or when I live on the mountain, so what if it's a wilder animal?
So we only deal with wild animals if they're injured or deceased. So if there's a dead raccoon in the road, we'll come and pick it up. If there's a raccoon suffering from distemper, we'll go out and we will actually euthanize that animal out in the field, put it out of its misery. Native Animal Rescue does a fantastic job caring for injured animals that can be nursed back to health. Frankly, we're called when there's no option. The animal's so horribly injured or sick, it has to be euthanized. Native Animal Rescue takes these animals in and nurses them back to health. Yeah. We actually euthanize animals for them. When they get to a point where the animal can't be saved, they bring the animal to us and we euthanize the animal for them. So we have that partnership with them.
Yeah, Eve is actually a friend of mine. I asked her to be here today, but she couldn't be here today. But I met her through dance. It's interesting how this community is all tied together. So Eve runs the Native Animal Rescue, which is in a home in Santa Cruz. I mean, it amazes me how many animals she's helping and sheltering there. And
they're 24/7. They're 24/7.
Yeah.
You could drop off an animal there in the middle of the night and they'll take it and they'll care for it. It's just an amazing resource for this community.
Yeah. And my bachelor's degree is in animal behavior from UCD. And I don't know, when we sheltered in place, I thought, well, what can I do to help? And I have 10 acres. I called Eve. I said, do you need any help? She said, well, we could use a little aviary for the birds can be released. I said, all right. So a friend came here and within 3 days, we had this little aviary that I have outside my window now, and I've had 3 families of birds in it so far. And then when they're self-sufficient enough, then we just let them go in an environment where that species exists. Like I don't necessarily have quail here the quail are down the mountain a ways. So I release them where they would belong. And it's been really educational. It's been fun. It's been very fun. But you do have some farm animals that come to you. How does that happen?
We do. So we have domestic farm animals. So we take in anything domestic. We have snakes, we have birds, we have goats, sheep, pigs, chickens, anything that is not wild will come through our doors. Reptiles, so it's, and horses, we actually just had a horse 2 weeks ago that was suffering from cancer and the owner couldn't afford to have the horse euthanized. So we took the horse in and humanely euthanized the horse for her. So yeah, we see all kinds of domestic animal species, and you never know what's going to come through the front door.
What happens with your organization when there are the big fires here and animals are escaping and animals are running away, or people are bringing them in because they have to evacuate? What happens with your shelter then?
Well, we took in at the last fire, the CZU lightning fire, we took in over 500 animals. Wow. At our shelter in Santa Cruz. Wow. So what we did was we quickly disseminated the shelter animals into foster homes. We got over 100 animals into foster homes. Wow. To make room for all the privately owned animals for evacuees. And then in addition to that, we set up the fairgrounds for livestock. Right. So we had about over 1,500 animals at the fairgrounds. that were cared for by Equine Evac which is a wonderful organization, and volunteers as well. We're down there taking care of the animals 24/7 as well. It was a big ordeal.
Yeah.
But we held on to some animals just for days, some for weeks, some for 3 months.
Wow.
While people got their lives back, and it was a lot of work. But we have an army of volunteers. We have over 400 volunteers.
Wow.
And they were coming every day and helping us clean and do laundry and feed. And the other thing that was great is we were kind of a central depository for in-kind donations. So people were driving up, dropping off big bags of chicken feed and dog food and cat food and bedding, and just all day long people would drive up, and then, evacuees would come with and then also take supplies so that they could keep the animal in their car, or they could go to a hotel and have supplies for their animals. So it was just constant people coming and dropping off stuff, and then people coming and picking up stuff. And it was a great collaboration of the community, our volunteers, our staff. It was something.
Makes you proud to run an organization like that, doesn't it?
Yeah. It was very hard work, but it was also very fulfilling that we could, all the animals went back. They stayed. They were fine. They got out multiple times every day with volunteers, and everyone did really well.
Yeah, I had at least one friend who went down there to feed the horses or clean the horses or something like that. There were a lot of horses there, and I understood it. Do you just know that you have the fairgrounds at your disposal if you need it during an emergency? That just happens in this county? You have an implicit agreement with them?
We do. We have a MOU with the fairgrounds. Actually, the county does. The General Services Department with the county has the fairgrounds used as an emergency evacuation site.
Wow, interesting. Is there any place within the city of Santa Cruz that's also designated for emergency evacuations?
So when there's been when we need space for livestock up in the northern part of the county, we use the fairgrounds, showgrounds. So the showgrounds on Graham Hill Road is where we've staged. And the last fire, this fire was coming too quickly. So they started out having horses at Graham Hill, but then they all had to be evacuated down to Watsonville Fairgrounds because it was coming so quickly.
Right.
But as long as it is safe, the showgrounds on Graham Hill Road are used as well as a staging emergency evacuation.
And this is one of the reasons it's amazing to live here. We have forest, we have ocean, we have wild animals, we have a lot of organizations that help the whole thing run. There are only 250,000 people in the whole county. Do you know that? It is not a huge county. And we have such wonderful organizations and activities going on here. There's always something good to do with your heart if you would like to reach out and help. So in the next year, what do you see happening, and in what ways can people help?
Well, we always take volunteers. The animals are pretty much sit in their cages unless the volunteers take them out, because the staff is very busy, caring and cleaning for the animals. But, people can come and walk dogs, play with cats, take photos of animals for us, help us out at special events. But the thing that we're really excited about coming up next year is our phase 1 of our campus expansion is happening. So we're building a brand new community cat room that's going to be nice and sunny. We're building a new rabbit room, and we're expanding our spay neuter clinic so we can do more surgeries as well. So that's supposed to be done it's under construction right now, and it's supposed to be completed in the spring. So we're really hoping to ramp up our spay neuter capacity.
And this is all on the same site?
Yes.
Nice. Okay. So you got a lot going on, and you can always use more volunteers, because I know there's a turnover in the volunteerism, and you're always training new volunteers, right?
We are. There's turnover. People have life situations where they can't volunteer anymore, or people get new jobs, or they move,
or they might have been
so there
students
is
or whatever. Yeah.
right, yeah. So we always welcome new volunteers at any time.
And there are occasional different classes that happen there too, right? They're not all just intro for volunteer classes. There's other educational animal classes that go on there as well.
Yeah, it's pretty extensive. We have the general orientation, and then we have what we call the species specific training. So the dog volunteers go through a separate training, and then they're hooked up with what we call our veteran seasoned volunteers for one-on-one mentoring. And they can come and work side by side with a veteran volunteer for as long as they want until they're comfortable being let loose on their own. Same thing with cats. They go through a separate orientation and mentor training with an experienced cat volunteer. Rabbits as well. And then we have our barn volunteers who help us out with the barn, which is wonderful to spend time with those animals as well. We have volunteers that come in, it's called our green team, where they come and they help us keep the grounds beautiful. They plant succulents, they weed, they rake, just to keep the ground, because we're right in the middle of a residential area. So we like to keep our grounds as pretty as possible to be a friendly neighbor to our neighbors.
Yes, I think I've met a couple gardeners there when I was dropping stuff off. Yeah,
they're amazing work that they've done. The master gardeners came in a few years ago and planted a drought tolerant landscape, which is wonderful. And then this green team really keeps it up, and they bring succulents and plants from their gardens and plant it on our grounds and just keep it really, really beautiful.
Nice. So I have a question. When I was looking up your organization, you are part of your board of directors is government people. Is that right? People from different arms of the government in Santa Cruz County. Did I get it right?
That's correct. We're called a joint powers authority. So we're comprised of every municipality in the county. So, and then they have representatives from each jurisdiction is on our board. So it's county, Santa Cruz County, City of Santa Cruz, City of Capitola, City of Watsonville, City of Scotts Valley.
Okay, so the way that you can take donations from people is things like cat stuff and dog stuff, toys and cages, and I know people donate them. And you can take volunteerism, but it's not a 501(c) for money donations, correct?
Correct. It's not a 501(c)(3), but we do have a tax exempt status. Even though we're government, we have a tax exempt status. So we do take donations that are tax exempt. And then on top of that, we have a 501(c)(3). Our partner organization is the Santa Cruz County Animal Shelter Foundation, which is a 501(c)(3). And they're the ones that are nonprofit, and they're in Santa Cruz Gives, which is only takes nonprofits, and they write grants and get money for acquire funds that we can't as a government agency, and then they fund things for us. So we do take donations. We have tax exempt status, but then we also have a nonprofit so that we can have even more ways to raise donations for the animals.
Got it. Sort of like the ACLU Foundation and the ACLU. Those are two separate, but they have the same name and their goals are both the same. Or yeah, there's another organization like that too. Well, I understand now. I saw that online when I was looking you up, so I wanted to understand how that works for money donations. Does it matter which, if to you or to the foundation, the money will go to the animal programs either way, correct?
It does, and our donations are put in they're in rollover accounts, so they don't necessarily go to our general fund. We have specified funds that we use the money for. For example, we have an extra mile fund that we use to do medical procedures on animals that go above and beyond what our budget can handle. We have our Planned Petted fund, which provides free spay and neuter for lots and lots of animals out there, covers the cost of all of our spay and neuter for low income residents. So we have these separate funds that we put the funds in so that they roll over each year and we can use them as we need them.
Got it. Thank you. And so your biggest wish for next year for your organization would be?
Well, we are working on phase 2 of our shelter expansion. We have the money raised for phase 1, but we're working on phase 2. Still working on what the cost is going to be. The idea is there's a house that's adjacent to us, that's owned by the county. And we want to convert that into a low-cost veterinary clinic in the front, and then in the back have a larger room for a behavior and training center. And basically, what that's going to accomplish is reaching out beyond the confines of the shelter walls into the animals, into the community. There's so many people that cannot afford veterinary care for their animals.
Yeah.
Basic vet care, let alone, things like dentistry,
Yeah.
which, if there's so many animals out there suffering from bad teeth that it's so expensive to get it done. We want to open up a low-cost clinic to offer that to residents that can't afford basic and above and beyond vet care. And then also in the back, we don't have a lot of space for training. The shelter, we basically outgrown our shelter with the new programs and services that we offer. We need a nice big space for education and training. Again, one of the big things that we really feel strongly about is we're anti any type of punitive training of animals that uses fear and intimidation and pain. We want to provide free training for people that need help with their animals, to retain their animals, to improve the quality of life for animals in our community. There's so many trainers out there that use old school punitive methods that we just do not agree with. And my dream is to have some type of academy where we have positive reinforcement trainers training new trainers so that there can be an abundance of positive reinforcement trainers in this county, which there is not right now. There's very few. So that's something that's personally that I want to see done, is to spread that knowledge of science-based backed behavior over the past 20 years, that of how to positively and humanely communicate and train your dog rather than with fear and intimidation.
Nice. I like that. Not using the Skinnerian method. I like that.
Yeah. No prong collars, no shot collars. It's not necessary. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you. I studied animal behavior at UC Davis. I've loved animals since I was a little kid. I had planned on being a vet and that didn't happen, but nevertheless, I've always had a bunch of animals, and I sometimes it's like a wish book. I go online and look at the animals that you have. There aren't many animals in your shelter right now. It's apparently been a big boon from the coronavirus for people adopting animals. Is that right? There aren't that many.
There aren't. This is our slow period though. Oh. So, during the spring and summer, we had a lot of cats. Oh. We had a lot of cats. Dogs, not so much as before the pandemic, but there's a lot of owner surrenders in our county. And that's, I attribute that to, the housing market. It's very, very hard to find housing where you can have an animal. So we have a lot of landlords that say no to animals. We have a lot of people that have to move because they can't afford to live here and have a house where they can have an animal. That's the trend I see growing, that has been happening this past year, is more and more owner surrenders.
Interesting. Oh, that's sad, but thank you for being there for all the animals and taking them in no matter what their story is. That's a very generous shelter that you have there. And thank you for your time today and for sharing your story with us. And I hope that some people who listen to this will reach out to their local animal shelter and find a way to volunteer, because there are lots of ways that you can volunteer at your local animal shelter. It's always a place that needs local people to help the animals and to help them feel warm and safe and comfortable there. I have a girlfriend who goes to your shelter and cleans the all the bedding for all the cat cages. That's her job. So there's lots of jobs. So thank you. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for your organization.
Thank you so much for including us. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for showing up. Happy New Year.
Happy holidays.